Welcome to Talk Purpose and Truth with Eden and Kim, shifting you into higher consciousness, the show that elevates, uplifts, and encourages listeners to grow, heal, awaken, and evolve. Eden and Kim include bold topics, special interviews with inspiring guests, intuitive readings, channeled messages from beyond, including celebrities, hot topics to expand your awareness, and time for questions from the audience. Tune in for unprecedented truth, authenticity, on-purpose discussions, and magical moments.
Okay, so that was definitely by accident. Kim and I we had just kind of been in the beginning of our podcast journey, and we had Jeremy Jackson on. I wanted to say Jeremy Dunn. Jeremy Jackson from Baywatch. He was on one of our episodes as a guest, and he brought up Glenn's name and said that he's doing some work with his campaign. And Kim and I were maybe just days before that searching for a cause, so that had to do with mental health. We were looking for something to work with to help in some way, because we felt so passionate about helping in that area. So it kind of just came up suddenly with Jeremy, and we felt right away, this is it. This is what we were looking for. So reached out to Glenn, and he answered us, and we were so excited that he responded. This guy, we thought this really big time guy, busy guy in Australia.
He is.
Well, now he's more down to earth to us, but he is that. Yeah.
We were putting him on a pedestal. Then we met him, and then we actually, after we had worked with him for a little while, we got to meet him when he came on the show, and it was with Eden right? It was with Eden Sassoon. Am I getting mixed up? Or we all talked about him. That's what it was.
Oh, that night, yes.
Yeah, that night we talked about him, and then later he came in person and appeared on several shows. So it's been quite a while, and when you talk to someone every day, it makes it like almost fast forward, like you've known the person 10, 20 years, because you're communicating with them so often. And so that's how we three turned into this soul family where we're all helping and supporting and uplifting each other. So it's just been really a profound thing.
Yeah. So welcome, Glenn.
Yeah, welcome, Glenn. Hi.
Thank you. And it's amazing to be back. I mean, as you just said there, we pretty much have got to know each other like family, speaking every other day. And it all came from that one, should I say, serendipitous moment between Jeremy and yourself, and collectively everyone coming together. And now look at us, and look how far the campaign's come. And just going back to that, where you say putting someone on a pedestal with things, it's so funny when I hear that, because I'm like, I always try and put the behind the scenes on my stories and everything. And I'd never want to portray, I am busy, I do this, I do that. But like you've just said there, mental health struggles affect us all. And I never want to portray, because I sadly lost a friend to suicide. And that was, we didn't see it coming because of highlight reels on social media. So yeah, for you guys to think I was this kind of, and then when you met me, and I'm like, no, I'm just me.
You are just like we are.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about it just now, but tell us what led you to creating the campaign, and what it's all about.
Yeah, sure. So the Imperfectly Perfect campaign, it literally stemmed over, I'd say we're just coming to 2.5 years now. And it was because 6-7 years ago, I went through a bout of clinical depression dealing with body dysmorphia. But the whole premise of it really just started at that 2.5 year mark, where I turned social media back on. Why I mentioned body dysmorphia is it was a big attributor to social media mine, comparing myself. So I actually turned it off. But when I turned it back on, pretty much because I do photography and I had pictures of the kids on there, the wife wanted to send them back home. I noticed that an old friend had passed away, looked into it. There was no story as to why. There was no lead up to an illness. So I started reaching out to friends, bearing in mind I'd not lived in the UK for a long, long time. And it turned out he'd taken his life. So knocked me around, because I pretty much couldn't understand the point where I'd been at my lowest of lowest, to think of that cloud of judgment moment where you could just take it one step further to heal, like to stop the pain or whatever was going through your thoughts without seeking that help. So I suppose seeing a video that his partner had put up of his little boy and him cuddling and kissing, and it breaks my heart. As parents, we've spoke about this often, to have to sit down and tell your child that one of their parents is not coming home. It's just so that was the whole premise of it. I reached out to all the organizations like I openly speak about, and I said, this is what I want to do. Is it something that we can do together? Understandably, there's a lot of advocacy out there, a lot of people wanting to do stuff, and they can't take everybody on. So I totally understood when they said, no, thank you. But for me, like I always joke with you guys, I rolled my sleeves up and I was like, right, I'm going to do it myself then.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know what I was going to do. I was going to utilize visual mediums because I was, quite frankly, sick and tired of seeing huge campaigns like local and just prettying things up. Like I'm sorry to say that the more I've learned through what I've done, and you guys have been along that journey, is that in this human form, we're all struggling and we all go through these emotions. Yet I know there's a lot of policies and legislations at times where we have to be careful what we do so it's not triggering. However, if we're not addressing the hard conversations and we're not putting something that's actually showcasing what this is and making sure it's backed up by professionals, how are we going to change this ever cycle that we continue to lose people? So, yeah, in a nutshell, that's my passion behind it and where it stemmed from.
Wow. Yeah, it stands out from the rest for sure. I mean, just very unique. What are some of the areas of mental health that the campaign focuses on?
One of the main differences I wanted to make was, and I understand it, a lot segregate things. So there's men's mental health, there's women's mental health, there's this. Whereas me, because of my profession in the background of fitness, I never saw titles. I never think one thing is more important than the other. So when it comes to mental health, there's so many different strands of it. I just thought, let's encapsulate it all. Let's have an open dialogue about every single strand of mental health, from whether women are dealing with endometriosis, sex and love addiction that we've just done recently, there's body dysmorphia, there's clinical depression, there's corporate leaders who go through the utmost, like, with respect to the bare, brought to their knees with depression. So I just wanted to showcase that, hey, look, if I can get in touch with celebrities and world leaders and go around the world and find out what's working in one country, what's not working in the other, and collectively try and have an open dialogue around everything together. Bearing in mind, it's been hard, don't get me wrong, but like we're seeing suicide rates continue to increase. So I'm like, there has to be something that's thinking outside the box. And if that means me trying to change the culture, then I'm going to try and bring everyone together. And I'm just grateful to have people like you two on board with me, doing it with me.
Yeah, I mean, it's helped me personally to reduce the stigma around, you know, talking about things I've gone through and talking about it openly and just going, you know what, I'm human, it can happen to anyone. And I have seen celebrities and you know, everyday people on Imperfectly Perfect Campaign doing that, and that inspired me to be more 100% open and vulnerable about it, you know?
Yeah.
Which recently I was able to on the Imperfectly Perfect Campaign Roundtable web series coming soon. So
I'm going to talk about that. Hold on. All right. So next question. What are some of the ways the campaign is helping people? I know we like what Kim just brought up. You're launching a web series, a new web series of roundtable discussions, as well as webinars and online course. Can you talk about this and other things that the campaign is doing?
Yes, certainly. So one of the main premises behind the whole campaign in its entirety is creating awareness first and foremost. So as you see the visual mediums, whether that be photography, film, anything kind of that, what I wanted to do was collectively really bring it back to storytelling, because the oldest form of communication is storytelling. So by sharing those stories, we can actually see that we've all got a commonality. We all struggle, like I was saying. So when people are drawn in through all these social media platforms that we're across, and they see people that they aspire or look up to openly talking, it really draws them to want to find out more about the campaign. Once you're there, there's resources such as the podcast, whereby it's showing you everyone's story. We're going into talking with celebrities, corporate leaders, professional experts in mental health, well-being, spirituality, healing modalities, and through there we extended it. So we do have a community page where we do global initiatives, whereby, because I want to create a legacy and get people to join that legacy for their kids, we initiate global entirety things where you can place "I am imperfectly perfect" on your hand, just so it's an additional thing to make people feel less alone. And as we know, mental health, it's all about being empathetic and listening. So that's just showcasing that there are people there for other people to listen to. Further to that, we got with some clinical psychologists and people like yourself in the wellbeing space to do talks. We did virtual hangs whereby the public came on for free. An extension of that one, we started some roundtable series whereby here we get highly acclaimed professionals, whether that be public speakers, corporate leaders, celebrities, just doing a roundtable where we're talking about these discussions that not a lot of people want to do. And then on top of that, we bring, again, clinical psychologists, wellbeing experts on top of that. And then furthermore to that, we moved into the corporate sector, whereby we run workshops where people like yourself and other people, we go into corporates, we talk to them about mental health management, leadership, various subjects. And at the end of that, that is a course booklet, as you just mentioned, whereby if they do go to imperfectlyperfectcampaign.org, they get to see where they can get that course book, where they can get all the access to the podcast, to the roundtables and everything.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that it's so that, just the online course itself, if you get that online course, no matter where you're at in your mental health journey, that it will help you, because the online course has so many topics that we all can relate to, like grief or addiction or getting rid of stress or how to deal with depression and anxiety, how to build and have more happiness, all kinds of things. And so I think that we all could use it, and so that's something you could even do on your own, which is great, so just that alone, amongst all the other things you guys offer. You've worked with so many big celebrities, and you have the gift of getting them to just be extra authentic and vulnerable, both on the Imperfectly Perfect Campaign videos, panels, podcasts. Can you give a couple of examples of stories like this with big celebrities that you've worked with?
Yeah, sure. I mean, to name a few, I think we often speak about them all, but the most profound one was literally talking to Robert Michael, you both have had on your show, E-Entertainment, endorsed by Oprah Winfrey and everyone. He once told me, and I tell this story to everyone because it's so profound, that to look at somebody like that, you see them on red carpets, you see them on highly acclaimed shows, author, being endorsed by all these people. You would think they have it all. And this is a big disparity. We see from the external, we don't see from the internal. So as much as we think they are portraying this glamorous lifestyle, internally they're battling. So for me, it's breaking down those barriers and just getting to know the person behind the profession. So for him, when I met him the first time on his TV show, he took me to one side and said this for him is more important, because for 17 years of his life, he felt like he wanted to take his life. So he looked into different ways in which to do it. And he actually one day, just pre-warning if this is triggering to anybody, but he actually took a knife to his arm. And he said for one moment, he felt elated, but then didn't know what he was feeling. So he decided to put it down and look into it a little bit further and seek help and read books. And these days it just continued to spurn on. And to the point now he's a positive psychology coach, helping other people. And there was one day he said he was walking across the road and literally there was a young kid with his father, and he saw the bracelet and he asked what the bracelet was, and it was covering where Robert obviously put the knife to himself. And he told him that story, and that little kid just grabbed him, hugged onto him like his life depended on it, crying, said that night he was going to take his life. And his father burst out crying, Rob burst out crying. And so I tell everyone that, because it's just, you just don't know by sharing your story what you can do for another person. And it's, yeah. And we just recently had Breon Davis on, which I'll introduce you guys to. She's amazing. She was on Jarhead. She was on all these big Hollywood movies, and she said she was on red carpets. From the outside, everything looked perfect. Everything looked glamorous. But inside, she was internalizing. She was struggling. She was going through a life full of sex and love addiction from the past, from being a young age, growing up with not much love, to trying to want love and associating it with what she'd seen on TV, and then trying to internalize it, cope with it and deal with it, which turned into kind of her struggling. And obviously throw on top of that publicity, paparazzi and everyone else. Yeah, it just really shows you that we are all humans, and no matter when we see these people on TV or running multi-million-dollar companies, that we're all on this earth and we're all going through this human experience together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And I think, to remind everyone, if they go back and listen to Rob Mack's episode on our show and on Glenn's Imperfectly Perfect podcast, I write notes listening to him because he's just so wise.
Yeah.
And, he admitted that he still struggles and he has to just constantly, tune into God, tune into that happiness inside of him and find it constantly throughout every day because he struggles still too, with different things, just like anybody.
And he's been on TV shows. He's been, I don't remember what that one
famously
was
single.
Yes, and was that the one that he was the psychiatrist?
He helped the celebrities.
Yeah, so he's amazing. Okay, well, it's very important for the campaign like this to have several big sponsors aligned with helping the campaign and its global efforts. So what type of sponsors do you look for, and how can people contact you if interested?
Yeah, sure. So at the moment, everything that needs to be aligned with the messaging. So we have had a lot of interest. Obviously, there's a lot of corporates out there that are wanting to get behind it. The reach in itself is accessing over 7.5 million. The podcast downloads are just growing by the day. But it really has to come down to the narrative of what they stand for and whether they are aligned with our message. Because as we know, we work on it heavily. It's got to be about integrity, about the cause, about the people, and about the messaging. If your company is associated with the well-being sector, we look for the big corporates that really want to create a legacy just like us. And I always say, it's kind of, if you really want to make a change and you want to make a cultural change, it's time to put your money where your mouth is. Let's come together and let's really make an impact on the world, not just in a local area. I mean, as individuals, we can make that little choice to help each other. But if we're going to do it as a collective, let's go big. So anybody that wants to reach out, all you need to do is just go to any of our socials. You can go to the website, imperfectlyperfectcampaign.org, and there you will see a sponsorship page where one of the team will get back and discuss what options that we do have.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, and then for everyone listening, I think that everyone can benefit from learning more about mental health awareness, how to reduce the stigma. So how would you say the best way for them to get involved? First of all, by just filling their mind with learning more about it, and then second of all, helping out in some way.
Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head there when it comes to that. I think you just need to immerse yourself in it. So as we know these days, one of the things was disrupting social media because, as I said, I lost a friend to obviously these highlight reels that we didn't see anything. The truth of the matter is everybody is on social media and everyone's filling their heads in with the wrong things. So with me, body dysmorphia, I was comparing myself because I was constantly looking at these bodies that I was trying to attain. So it's remove yourself from those. But if you can go to pages that are collectively, I say that word all the time because I really want people to entrance themselves into going to pages like the Imperfectly Perfect Campaign and mental health pages. Because as we know, a lot of the times, the stigma is still there with a lot of people. They don't want to share it initially. So immerse yourself, go to our page, go to any helpline page and just read it and read people's stories. Go to the podcast. That is the first step. Really educate yourself. And not in the way that you have to sit there reading. That's why we've taken it away and done the podcast. Listen that you're not on your own and other people are struggling just as much as you, and it's okay to speak out. And then maybe just go to the Imperfectly Perfect global community page, whereby, as I was saying earlier, and you guys were big advocates for it and got it around everywhere, like join in with us. And we do these initiatives and go, you know what, I'm struggling as well. Here's 3 tips what I do. Maybe I can pass that forward to the next person, each one teach one. And then we can create this everlasting ripple effect where everybody all around the world is coming together, just going, this is what I do for mine. This might not work for you, but try it. And if it doesn't, listen to the next person and then do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's what's so meaningful about these roundtable web series you have. It goes so deep and you get such a variety of experts, celebrities, different people on there, all having a conversation. And you learn so much that you can take away and heal yourself, or at least get inspired to go ask for help. And so I'm looking forward to, I got to be a part of one of those and just watching them as they come out. So before we go, we just want to say thank you for being on all the way from Australia. And, congratulations on the campaign. I know we're all a team, but you've done so much profound work globally. And this campaign is now known all over US, all over Australia, all over UK, and growing and expanding to even more places. So it's just so meaningful and so needed right now. So before we say bye, please just make it real clear how people find the campaign, the website, the Instagram, and the Facebook especially.
Yeah.
And you also want to, if you want to talk about selling your gear, your IPC shirts and all the other things that you're selling.
We've got so much stuff, haven't we? Yeah. So firstly, guys, I just want to say thank you for having me back on, and all the work that you guys do, and Skylar as well has been a big help. All the families have been a big help with just spreading the message. Couldn't have done it without you guys. And we have come far, and we're doing a lot of things. It sometimes feels like a mountain, as we all know, and this is the thing. It's ever evolving, and we're always learning. But everyone can go and pretty much find everything at imperfectlyperfectcampaign.org. You will be able to find the apparel there. So all the proceeds that come in from the apparel go straight back in so we can continue the efforts, guys. So you've got things from beanies, from singlets to sports bags, everything, just spreading the love. And just basically go there. And again, guys, you guys have been a great help. And the Roundtable series, like, Eden, you're coming up on one next. Kim, thank you for sharing your vulnerability the other day. Just how powerful it is just sitting back sometimes and listening to someone else speak. And one of the things I just want to say is the reason why we decided them is because a lot of people get scared to go to therapy or even group therapy. And I wanted to showcase that it's not that scary. We have got some people in the public eye that you would think wouldn't want to share those kind of things in front of people. They don't know each other. Mm-hmm. And yet showed how easy it was when you break down that titles don't matter. This is what matters, and this is what matters.
Right.
So when you bring that to play, and what you did that day for everybody, unbeknownst to you, you probably just made a huge impact, and you probably felt a relief for you to share that, because I know it was new for you to share that.
Yeah, that's the first time I ever shared what I just have been going through. So you have to watch.
Thank you for having me, guys.
All right. Yeah. Thank you all. And you can also find Talk Purpose and Truth on Instagram and Facebook as well. And listen to Glenn's podcast as well, because we're on there. No, just kidding. For all the great content. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Woohoo. Good timing.
Cool.
For more information on Eden, go to edensustin.com. For more information on Kim, go to kimlifecoach.com. Make sure to follow them on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Talk Purpose and Truth Podcast. If you loved this episode, you'll love every episode. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thank you for listening.